today's super special because we have a very special guest for our Hard Way series. And the Hard Way series is typically done in person, but this year we couldn't do that. So we're doing a virtual session. But the Hard Way session is intended to bring in an entrepreneur who has a lot of experience and has been through what we call the entrepreneurial trenches. And so they've seen the highs and the lows, and they are able to connect those dots with their own experiences and life work. And so today we have Dr. Kit Miyamoto, and he's in California, which is one of the benefits of our virtual meeting, is that he gets to be with us today. But he is the global CEO of Miyamoto International. His worldwide engineering and disaster management firm is now in 25 locations on 4 continents with one purpose: to make the world a safer place. Dr. Miyamoto, he is a world-leading expert in disaster resiliency engineering, disaster response, and reconstruction. He provides expert engineering and policy advice for USAID, World Bank, UN agencies, and other various governments. He is the chair of the California Seismic Safety Commission. He's also won the Engineering Records Global Best Project 3 consecutive times, and he's been profiled by major media outlets such as ABC, CNN, LA Times, and Rolling Stone. And Mark pointed out that he's the only engineer he knows who's been featured on Rolling Stone, and I would have to agree that's pretty rare. So maybe we'll hear about that today. He currently travels around the world to save lives and impact economies. And we also have Mark here today, and Mark is going to be interviewing Dr. Kit. And they go way back because Mark was actually part of Kit's work when he only had about 8 to 9 employees. So he's been able to watch Kit build a strong purpose-driven mission and organization. And so we thought he would be the perfect person to interview Kit, and kind of knows a lot of Kit's story. Just a little bit about Mark. He's the founder and principal designer of the Fayetteville, Arkansas-based design, development, and construction firm that bears his name, Mark Zweig Inc. It was a 2014 Inc. 5,000 fastest growing privately held company. Mark loves home design and construction, and his homes have been featured in many national, regional, and local publications. And if you live in Fayetteville, you should just drive around and you will see his work. It's everywhere. So keep your eyes open, and I'll put his website as well in the chat, and you can see some examples of his work in our area. Mark is also an executive in residence here, teaching entrepreneurship at the Sam and Walton College of Business for us at the University of Arkansas. So welcome, Mark. Welcome, Kit. We're so glad to have you both. For those of you in the audience, I encourage you to use the chat if you have some questions come up or if you want to engage with us. We're happy to do that as we go. But from here, I'm going to let Mark take the reins and ask Kit some questions.
Hey, thanks, Stacy. So yeah, we're winding down the Mark Zweig Inc. By the way, we're in a new phase of our lives. Unlike my brother Kit, Kit he's still ramping up.
That's right.
Just opened a new office today. You said in
Jakarta.
Jakarta. Wow, that's really cool.
2 hours.
So, 2 hours. Wow. So tell everybody, you grew up in Japan. Tell everyone how you came to the States, what your childhood was like, and just how you started out in this business.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I like acknowledge Gary Pomeroy. I think Gary is my old friend. He's actually calling from Kathmandu, Nepal. You must be like at 3 a.m. there, isn't it?
Yes. But you're worth it. Okay.
Yeah, and also I see Marina Hill. She's based in Sacramento from our company. Marina's here. Anyway, so I was born and growing up in Japan, right? And when I was 18, and I basically decided to play for Dallas Cowboys. And I told my mom and dad, so I'm going to the United States. They go, why are you going? Where are you going? They go to the United States. And well, what are you doing there? I'm going to play for Dallas Cowboys. I left. And they thought I was crazy. Maybe I am crazy. And That didn't quite work out, obviously. You know, I played for college for a couple of years, but I blew my knee, so that was the end of my career. And I had a plan B. Plan B was being a structural engineer. So that's how I started going to school at it was a Chico State, California State University, Chico, and back in the late 80s. It was considered the best party school in the whole country by the Playboy magazine, I remember. You know, something like that. But it was definitely not a hard way. I went to school for 8 years there.
It's the Van Wilder plan, isn't that what they call it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that the whole thing was, Mark, essentially that what I want to always pursue is something my dream, you know, every day, which didn't change anything since when I was, 18. And something I was really passionate about. I was passionate about playing football in the U.S. So everybody thought I was a nutcase, but I did it anyway, you know. And it's kind of like that, I think. But interesting about this, so I went to school for 8 years at Chico State, right? And right after I graduated, I joined the smallest company in Sacramento, California at the time. We had about maybe 5 people. It's called Schaefer and Associates. Small company, just doing structural engineering for the just schools and stuff like that in California. And I was there I thought I was going to be there for a couple of years, you know, to just kind of learn trade and kind of move on to some international things, which I want to do. But John Schaefer, he was my mentor and for the president of Schaefer and Associates, he asked me to buy the company because they want to retire it. And they asked to pay like $275,000. That's a lot of money in the late 1990s, right? Big money right now, big money then, especially companies only like 5 people losing the money every year, $1,000. And I was making like a $52,000 a year. And I said, John, how am I supposed to pay this $275,000 to pay? He goes, Kit, don't worry, you'll figure it out. You figure it out. I was like, okay. I guess I got nothing to lose, you know. I don't have a kids then, and so I just kind of basically signed up. And but one thing I want to do is just not being a structural engineer. Which is great, which I'm structural, I'm still a structural engineer, but want to impact the global scale. You know, that's something I want to do at the time, because it's just being a US, we're kind of blessed in the sense that minimum things we take for granted, like a safety, which many of our countries don't have there. You know, if the earthquake comes, hurricane comes, things collapse, people die needlessly, no reasons. So one thing we want to do is we want to basically make the world a better, safer place. That was like our mission from almost like a day one. And so we start from Sacramento thing. And I think at the time, Mark joined our company as a board of directors, well, maybe consultant in 2001 or 2-ish, right? Mm-hmm. And we changed the name to Miyamoto International. It's actually, Mark, that was your idea to change to Miyamoto, because Schaefer Miyamoto is kind of a mouthful, right? And okay, we changed to Miyamoto. We put Miyamoto International in it. And
it sounded like a mega company, didn't it?
I don't know,
mean,
but Mark,
but
you go. Some people ask me, clients ask me, right? Because I go to the clients to change their name, so they go, international. Why international? I mean, do you have international clients? No, we have no international clients, no international locations, nothing. But I told them that's what we want to be. So we named it, and it's kind of interesting, if the kind of desire to be one, and you really focus on it, it seems to me things doesn't happen along the way, and it's kind of interesting how it works. Because I think if you really want it, I believe you kind of you really look for the opportunities, and opportunity happens, I think, all the time, and many people don't recognize opportunity happens, and some doors open, keep opening. For example, I met a gentleman named Peter Yanev. He's a structural engineer, but he was a founder and a president of a company called EQE International. When he started as a 2-man company in San Francisco in the maybe early 80s.
Yeah.
By 2000, he had about 700 people over the whole world, And he was retired by then, 2002, 3-ish. And he was one of us, kind of a structural engineering committee meeting, some kind of a just boring code development committee or something like that. He was in it, and I was in it, and I knew the guy, right? I knew he was very famous, and I asked him to be in a board members, and he looked at me and said, "Why you want to be a board member?" And I told him we wouldn't be international. We got a name called international, but we have no international yet. Maybe you can help us.
Well, that was a brilliant move, though. I mean, here you go. Just because you asked this guy who was in our business tremendously successful. I mean, I was in San Francisco in the 80s and just watching EQE eat the lunch of firms like T.Y. Lin, you know, who were there first and should have been cashing in after Loma Prieta. But EQE was everywhere. They were just eating our lunch. But in any case, it was a brilliant move. You created this board. You got Peter Yenev on there. You got Tom Chan, who was he was also part of EQE.
Yeah, he was executive vice president then. Yeah.
And then you added some other people in, like Ed Friedrichs over time, and
yeah, that was your introduction. Ed Friedrichs was the also the CEO of a company called Gensler, and he was started as like a 20-man company in San Francisco. And when he retired in the early 2000s, it was like a 5,000 people, some crazy, you know, size. It's the biggest architecture company, as I know, in the world.
It's the biggest in the world. Yeah, pure architecture firm.
Yeah.
So that was a brilliant move, though, that you did put that board together like that.
Yeah, it was. I was amazed too that those people are just answer affirmative every time, including you, Mark.
Well,
you know,
thanks.
I mean, everybody in the whole world, in the architecture engineering world in the United States, want you to be part of this, right? You know, and you know, and you actually, you know, give me an affirmative answer to join the board. I guess my question is why. I was kind of wondering about it for quite a long time. Because you can pick and choose. I'm sure there are companies pay you much more than we actually paid back then, right? Why you join our board?
Because of you. I mean, you know, you have such an amazing drive that, you know, I think when you look at entrepreneurial organizations, it sure helps to have an entrepreneur there. And, and you are that. And you're just wired differently. You know, I wish I could find that high school photo. I had a photo of Kit's graduating class, and it was all Japanese in Tokyo, all Japanese men dressed identically. Everyone had a dark coat, white shirt, and a dark tie. And there was one guy in the audience that had a golf shirt on, and it was him. Okay.
I just don't want to be part of this kind of a norm, you know.
I think that sort of, you know, said so much to me. It's like, here's this one little dot. He's different. He sees himself differently. And you really do look at this business differently. And you have taken this mission. You know, a lot of companies in our business have missions. Frankly, many of them sound like bullshit. How you ever got, you know, your clarity and your focus to really sort of boil it down to make the world a better, safer place, and then go out there and live it. You know, I think that's, you really set the example for everybody.
Yeah.
I think Haiti was a defining moment for the company, although you'd already grown significantly by the time the Haiti earthquake came along. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah. I want to talk about Haiti because it is definitely a defining moment. But before that, talking about there was a board of directors, and I was wondering why I think that they want to see. I think all those great people out there, and in many cases they are retired, right? Got plenty more money, and they're kind of bored. I think they want to help others. They want to help younger people. I think that's what they're out. But no one asked them to be on the board because people are scared to ask those questions, right? And I think I'm the only person to ask to the Peter Yenev and people like that to be on board because they're such a big people, you know, no one want to ask them. But we're the only people ask. Maybe that's why that they become board of directors. But no, I think that those people are fantastic because they really open doors, different ideas, stuff like that. That's really our driver to start with because of Peter, he opened the door for World Bank, and he identified a project we should pursue in Romania in probably 2005-ish, and we got shortlisted, 3 people in it, right? And then Peter go, Kit, you fly out there tomorrow in Bucharest, Romania, and meet the client and sell it. And Peter, I go, Peter, I don't think you can do this. It's a governmental contract. You can just show up. You do it. Whoever show up, get the job. That's his advice. And I flew the next day to Bucharest. I met the contracting officer. She goes, yeah, you're the one of most, we get you a job. He was right. So that was our first international projects. And after that, there's a series of earthquake happened. Sichuan earthquake in 2008 was a really bad one because it collapsed many schools. And again, Peter's one that pushed me to be out there, even no foreigners were allowed to be in China at the time, because especially engineers, because that so many people die, right? But I flew to Beijing first and got the tourist visa and went to the Sichuan. Hopefully no Chinese government listen to my talk here. But anyway, so we collect all the data because it was technical mission to understand why those buildings collapsed, you know? And we published it in English, and someone translated to the Mandarin, the Chinese, and published it throughout. And it's very interesting. And after that, I think that the Chinese government took the whole seismic retrofit of all the schools, throughout the area, and also changing the building code and so on. So I don't know if you contribute now, but that's something that we felt like we can help. So same thing applied to Haiti. He was talking about. So 2010 Haitian earthquake happened, which killed almost 315,000 people. It was the biggest disaster human ever encountered as far as earthquake is concerned. It's the biggest death ever, right? And we went down there, and so we had an experience now. We are kind of prepared for this kind of things because we get from 2005, from understanding how World Bank works, and working in Sichuan, China, how the disaster look like. And we understand how to control the media, talk to media and all that. And so when we show up in 2010, and we are completely prepared for it. And actually, believe it or not, 2009, we hired a branding company to rebrand the whole thing about this whole earthquake and all that stuff, right? So it was very interesting. So right after it's happened, so not only we're able to capture the opportunity to help the country, help the people, but also we are able to get all the funds from UN agencies and US aid and things like that. And we're able to use it right to do, all the project we touched was truly successful, which was for many donors basically said that was never seen anything like that. Because every time they do something in Haiti, things fail, so it doesn't quite work. And I know why they didn't do right, because they tried to import something from different country, like, it worked in California or it worked in Tokyo or something like that, right? Try to impose a system to Haiti. Obviously, it doesn't quite work. You need to understand the whole cultural context and political context. That's how to make it happen. So we understand that, not only engineering, but also understand the political, economical, all that sensitivity of it. We connect the dots and we're able to make it happen for every single project. It was very interesting. And actually, just to let you know, so we train like about 7,000 masons and 700 engineers and just tons of people, right? And for the reconstruction. And recently we got funded by US aid again to see how actually masons perform today. Guess what? 80% of masons in Haiti, they actually follow the international norm today, which is unthinkable 2009.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, but it's not only us. Many people participate in training and stuff like that, right? It just it's just unbelievable impact. So
but let's just step back for just a minute now. So after the earthquake, you immediately rushed down there to literally help pull people out of the wreckage. What does that do to you psychologically to see all that death and devastation?
Oh, that was difficult. When you're there, you don't kind of think that much, because you're like a professional, I do working on that. But many people comment me after I came back to California. I was there I was living there pretty much, embedded into the whole Haitian community, because to be able to work, you need to understand that everything about Haiti, culturally, history, language, everything about it, right? So you become like a Haitian. So I become Haitian, and but when you're embedded into it, you don't quite see. But when you come back, people say, "Oh my God, you're like distressed," because kind of out of it, because you see so much death and so much tragic stuff going on there.
Well, and you're working 18 hours a day or 24 hours a day, whatever.
7 days a week, yeah, exactly. But I think, Mark, that also the business point of view, that was actually that really worked, because I was there on the forefront, right? So as a CEO, in a sense, I walk the talk of our mission. You know, I didn't send someone to just do this so-called difficult job. I'm the one on the front line to kind of walk the talk. I think that's a really critical as the leader to just, you know, show it, you know, visual about it. I think that's a really key component. So that's in a sense that turning point of the business is because we're able to do things like that, you know. And also after that, USAID and World Bank and UN agencies become the one of our really biggest clients we have today, actually.
How do you learn the culture of all these different places that you've gone? I mean,
How?
How? What is your process for doing that?
Well, drinking helps.
With the locals, you mean?
Oh yeah, with locals.
Okay, not alone by yourself, but with the...
No. I mean, I told you in the Chico State, I went for like 8 years in college, right? You know, and I didn't declare my major for like a 5th year, by the way, and because I was playing football and all kind of stuff. But I took a lot of cultural anthropology courses actually, and cultural anthropology is essentially that discipline. You know, if you don't know about tribe, you become tribesman to understand that. That's the whole kind of a discipline of that. So I'm kind of following that essentially, just to kind of become one. You know, if I, late 2000, 2008, 8, 9, we got the projects in Turkey, Istanbul government, and I was admitted into Istanbul government to just become Turkish. You know, I become Turkish. I feel like I was a Turkish, kind of being it, you know, inside of it, and start thinking like them. And I think you have to start thinking like that, then you understand that what works, what doesn't work. You know, so whatever you learn from somewhere else really doesn't really help you that much. You have to kind of rediscover what's context of it, you know?
Yeah, well, you've been a master at that, undoubtedly. Let's talk a little bit about the business itself. What do you think the things you've done in the business that have led to your ability to grow consistently and be profitable doing this stuff? What are some of the key elements you think of Miyamoto International?
Key elements of growth.
Yeah, and what you're doing in your business practices or how
Yeah.
you manage the place.
I think, well, first of all, I think people system is the important one. People system of the, so our whole context of people system pretty simple. This is something that, I tell everyone, 80% of your time spend on your strength, 20% time spend on a weakness where you want to be good at it, and do not spend any time your weakness, which you have no hope to get any better, or you don't like it, you know. So kind of a focus on the strength kind of things that I think is really critical. So what does means that we don't have like a job description, because everybody got a complete different, if you've got 100 people, there's 100 completely different profiles. So you have to almost kind of write this job description for each person. Actually, I think that type of a strength focused culture we talked about, I think that's a really critical one for growth, I do believe. And also so that's the people system, right? And second one is I think this whole mission components, is purpose-driven components, is such a key, and I walk the talk about this purpose, not just the doing for because business books said you have to have a purpose, you should have that. It's not like that. It has to be sincerely, authentically believe in what you do. I think that's a really key part of it, And thirdly, the communication, PR, marketing, that is a super key, which is most of engineering companies think like a sin, by the way. I just don't understand that one. I think that the communication about what we do is so critical. So we are very passionate about that communication, PR, using social media to mass media to everything you can imagine. We just did the email blast over this Miyamoto Indonesia Open today, 1 p.m. a couple hours ago. And, our whole mission for using social media and everything, we're going to reach 1 million people, to basically 1 million people to kind of see it. So that's our whole, globally, that's how we have a target. We put in budget, do things like that. So I think communication marketing components are really key parts there, I do believe.
One of the things that you did that was so powerful is you would go into these disaster areas and you would write a journal and
Hmm.
publish that.
Yeah.
Some of those really brought tears to my eyes, and I shared them with other people. You know, I used to send them to my wife every time because they were so moving. You know, after you were, I was particularly struck by the tsunami account, post tsunami account in
Yeah.
Japan that you wrote, where you were literally there. And you said, as a child, you know, as a kid, I rode my bike around here, and now it's just a pile of wreckage. You know, it was very, very moving. Um,
Yeah,
do you
that's
think
I
that
guess.
it's been a good approach for you?
Oh yeah, I mean most definitely, and I think that's a part of a communication, right? You know, you can do. Just depends on the person. To me, like a writing is something I love. You know, so writing, pictures, images, video, graphing, you know, all that stuff. You know, something. By the way, writing. You know, I didn't know I was a fairly decent about it. I didn't know that too. Actually, I was still writing there. I thought I have no artistic sense, but something I guess I do know about a little bit writing, I guess.
You
But
can
this is,
do it all.
you know, but no, it's a very
Huh.
powerful way to communicate. So yeah, communication part of it, you know, and authenticity and transparency. I think those are really key part of it there, and also other growth components of it. It's a decentralizations. You know, I mean, it, empowerment of the things that's a really key part of it, especially us. We have I mean, like 20 25 offices, you know, globally, right? And over the whole world spread out, and coming down to you have to really set up the not only system so people can follow it, but also be able to trust, you know, hire the right partner or
Sure.
retain the right partners, be able to trust, to have the right tools. But after that, you just have to kind of you know, get
I
away from that way, essentially.
Yeah, I always felt like you could hire people and they would put more effort in because you had such a strong mission and because of the way they were treated. So I guess it almost gave you like an unfair advantage over the other companies if good people are going to be willing to work for you for, you know, maybe less than they'd make somewhere else. Not saying that that's the case, but and work harder. You
Yeah,
know, what a great when all you sell is their expertise.
yeah.
What a great
Well,
place to be. You know.
we do pay more.
Yeah. Okay.
but it's so true. I mean, a lot of people are
Yeah.
talking about how hard to hire
Hmm.
or attract the good people. We have
Yes.
no problems at all. Zero problems on that. I
See,
mean,
that's fantastic.
that's not even the issue for us because I think I think because of our authentic purpose drivenness is actually really key though. But also same time we're growing, right? You know,
Hmm.
and growth means opportunities. And other most of the engineering companies, they don't grow. They kind of stay same. They want to keep stay. That's the whole kind of almost like a purpose. You know, don't take a risk to grow. I think growth is such a key part of attracting the people because without growth, there's no opportunities. You stay. No, but nothing. Well, I guess that's okay too. That's one of the strategies, right? You know, kind
Hmm.
of stay small and make money, and you know, that's it really. But just to me, like a boring to me. It's very selfish. Yeah,
No, that really is true, and you have focused on being a constantly growing company. You do share your financial information with your people.
of course. Yeah,
I think that's you know, not everybody in this business does that, and that's a
I
really
noticed
big
that.
deal.
I noticed that looking at your
Yeah.
survey, only 20 some percent, you know,
Yeah.
share the financial information with everybody, which I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if you want to engage everyone to be a part of this ball game, you have to share everything as much as possible. You know,
That's
keep them updating what's going on, good and bad.
let's just step back to this purpose for a moment and talk about how you really made that real. One of the things that you did is you created the Miyamoto Relief nonprofit, which I also think was a stroke of genius. Not only are you doing a lot of good and helping people, but it also, in a sense, furthers your mission and sort of reinforces that you're real.
Yeah, I think so. Miyamoto Relief is the nonprofit we formalized per se, right after the Japanese tsunami event actually, and because of we noticed that now people started seeing us, right, and they want us to do certain things and on the ground. But as a business, you cannot accept donations. You know, it just doesn't quite work that way, and the people don't donate to business either. So we just create the nonprofit, 501c3, to basically able to accept the donation essentially. And I mean, it was incredible. For example, in Haiti, we were able to activate not only business from California, but also Haitian businesses and like Japanese embassy. They donate money to the common cause, which is that they want to repair, strengthen this one high school in this poorest area in Haiti, which has been it's been damaged and vacant for like 3 years, and kids are studying on the courtyards and stuff like that, right? And so that was like a first time ever really able to engage different families from Haiti. Those are powerful families, and Haiti has a lot of powerful people in there, by the way. But they never work together. This is the first time able to donate money and then put work on the same mission essentially. So it's I think nonprofit, does definitely the place to play the game. And why we create nonprofit? This is how it works, right? In a society, there's a needs. There's 1,000 needs, and maybe 90% needs can be met by some kind of a funding. Could it be private sector investment or public sector money, government money there to kind of address the needs? But 10-20% of society, there's no money in there for whatever reason it is. There's no funding from nowhere. That's where the nonprofit can raise the money and just deal with that issues. Because remember, we want to make the world a better, safer place, not only for people who has money, but people who have money also. But as a business, we have to basically raise money. So that's how Miyamoto Relief was actually formalized.
And you've really gone beyond just the reconstruction of schools, which I think was the original thrust. I was part of this organization, I guess, in a small way.
Yeah.
But you've expanded that to some of these projects, like providing water to the African tribesmen, and tell these guys a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was on a holiday like 3 years ago, and I was in a really remote place in this Africa, just myself and my wife Sabine, and it's completely authentic tribesmen. They never seen a civilization for like thousands of years kind of place, right? And one thing I noticed that they just don't have any water anymore because a flood got the control because of that large dams built on upstream. No more flood, which means no more annual harvest. They're literally starving. And especially that the COVID hit last year, people really start dying because people like us don't show up anymore, right? So what we basically, plan is to essentially create this solar powered irrigation system to pump the water from a river to their field. And they actually put it on a one, which we helped, Miyamoto Relief actually helped to set up, and which is working right now. So they're actually the Marx organization's Y group, they're actually instrumental. And they actually help us to fly in this tribesman, the elder from Ethiopia to Las Vegas, I think 2019, right?
Yeah.
And he made this incredible
great.
Speech. Yeah, he was
It
great.
Was.
And he actually motivated 4 water engine companies in the US to fly down there last year to actually try to set up this whole system. So I think as a business, I think what I'm trying to say is that we can do a lot, right? That's kind of amazing part of it being a business. That's why I'm so passionate about it. Not just yet being profitable, which is important, obviously, being a growth and stuff like that. But some issues you identified, business can do some stuff. That's why it's so cool about it. That's why I'm so passionate about it, Mark. That's why I'm thinking about, no one de-winding, none of that. We want to grow. Because one thing we notice, the bigger the company we are, more impactful. We can do more out there, So
I think
yeah,
it's very unusual. You know, I've worked with a lot of structural engineers, as you know, and I mean, we publish a magazine for structural
yeah,
engineers, Civil plus Structural Engineer. But most are so conservative. I mean, if you look at the structural engineers, are probably the most conservative of all engineers because lives are depend on what they do. And it seems, you know, even in your engineering, that you've been out there. I think that that LAX theme building project and your I hate to use the word solution. It's so overused in business. It makes me vomit every time I hear it. But
cost-effective innovation.
yeah, cost effect. But your solution for that was so different. How do you come up with stuff like that, and how do you convince your clients to do things maybe that are just completely different than anything they've ever done before?
Well, what Mark's talking about, LX Theme Building, which is that, I don't know if you've probably seen it. It's in like look like a spider kind of building in the middle
Looks
of
like a flying saucer
yeah, yeah,
that's propped up in LAX airport.
yeah. Made of concrete. It's engineered and built in like 1950s. You know, it's a heritage building, even the 1950s, because it's so unique. So, but they want to do seismic strengthening, but we cannot touch from outside because it's a heritage building. And inside, we can touch inside neither because some kind of a contract, a restaurant has, you know, cannot terminate even 1 day of operation. So we cannot touch from either inside or outside. So, but they want to make it stronger, right? So what we did is we add the steel plate, layers of steel plate, about 3 feet high, 30 feet diameter. We put on top of the roof with the top on that, what we call isolators, essentially roller. So the building like this, to put a weight on that, right? So if the earthquake hit this way, this counter react, essentially, what we call mass dampers. So it will reduce the motion on that superstructure below, essentially. So that's I think the first time anyone. I mean, it was a little bit crazy because they added about equivalent to like a 3 Boeing 747 weights on top of the order building.
And it works.
It worked. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was kind of worried about that one, actually, you know, when they put this up in. I'm going to worry about actual seismic. I know it's going to work for seismic. What about the whole thing was settling? We figured that it doesn't. So that's
fantastic.
I think we probably tend to take more innovative approach, I believe, and that's a kind of culture of a company for sure, no question about it, from not only just the management style, but also engineering too. And just the innovation, something different. That's the kind of a blood of a company, I do believe, you know, culture of it. So that's a differentiation itself, right? You know, from other, say, structure engine companies. They tend to become kind of conservative.
So one of the keys to building business value, and I know you've never really been preoccupied with that. You've sold ownership to some key employees along the way.
Yeah.
But how does a firm like yours, when you have such a charismatic, dynamic, super motivated leader, how does that firm transition? How does that firm survive? You know, outlast you? What are the keys to that, you think?
I think if I die tomorrow, I don't think there's so much issues there. It's just that they have to find a couple of people to replace me, though. One, it's just the company, as I said, whole management and everything about it completely empowered, right? You know, my day job is to kind of try to figure out what should I do to improve this company, kind of things going on. And I'm sure that my guys in California would be so glad to maybe start traveling again, you know, because I'm being interfering. Okay, because start thinking a lot of things. But so I think that they're really important to kind of empower decentralization of it. So I don't make a key decisions about like a day-to-day things ever, right? And but what I provided 2 things today for sure. One is the kind of strategic direction of it, kind of CEO things to do, strategic thinking about what go next, what's going to happen next.
That's pretty important stuff.
It is important, but I can be replaced. Anyone can be replaced. That is definitely, you can find some good people doing just that, right? But also I do I understand the communication PR components of it, you know, how actually communication works, what kind of message make a reaction from a society or certain segment in target audience you're looking for. So, and also I do disaster response if something happens being a disaster scene, but all the 3 functions can be replaced. 3 people. So
You
company
think?
may have spent more people than pay me.
Well,
Yeah, it is
you
possible.
really, you are the only engineering firm I've seen with African children on your website. I mean, I think it makes a real statement.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's just one more way you've shown that you're different. But I do think that it's difficult to make that transition. Tell these guys a little bit about your business planning process there. How do
Oh,
you
business
handle
plan?
that? Hmm.
So essentially, we have the strategic plan itself, which is a fairly simple document about the key strategy of a people, teamwork, growth, how we grow, and where, that kind of things we're talking about, and also vision statement, what we look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that type of elements and stuff like that, right? Which doesn't change so greatly from year to year. Based on that, each team, we call each office, they basically develop the action plan, how they implement their target. So each team has its own revenue target for each year, for 5 years, what vision statement look like, what the strength is, how they're going to focus it. So they built its own action plan, implementation of it, who's doing what and how much, when, that type of the very detailed things. So I never liked the thick documents, but that particular document's action plan we call, it's like 150 pages long, but each team is, just only like a 4 or 5 page long of a documents to implement that. So that's how the whole business plan system look like. And also action plan associated with the budget, forecast, stuff like that. So
how do you, I know you've had a very disciplined approach to that business planning though. I mean, you do it, and it's just like your board meetings. You hold your board meetings on schedule. You get your financials done quickly.
Right.
I do think that discipline has been critical to your success.
Yeah.
How do you manage having any kind of personal life at all with the insane travel and work schedule that you've had for the last 25 years or whatever it's been?
Well, I mean, it's getting easier, quite frankly. I mean, when I had like 20, 30 people, it was extremely difficult because I was wearing so many different hats and, I mean, from engineering to, collection of money from clients, stuff like that, right? So when I had a small company, it was very difficult. And once now we have a couple hundred people globally, right? And, US maybe about 128 people, something like that. And since become sizable, we have a lot of talent in that company, from finance to HR to engineering to strategic things to business development and all that, right? So in a sense, my job is getting easier and easier, Mark. I mean, because it's more like I'm more focused on my strength zone now today than ever before, You know what I mean? So it's applied to not only myself, but everybody too. Everybody's life get a little better. I don't say easier, maybe it's a more focus on the strengths. I think that's the kind of beauty about bigger companies, just be able to focus on strength more. So, so I have a lot of personal time.
You've got 3 kids. When you travel all the time, I mean, what do you like call them? Do you send them emails, or what do you do to stay in tune with them?
Yeah, I mean, when I was traveling quite a bit, a few years back, and they're pretty small, kids then, in grade school and junior high schools and stuff like that. I flew back every weekend. Weekend was a very special thing. So I was in maybe Istanbul or something on a Friday. I flew back on a Friday, see the family, go back to some, I don't know, Colombia or something the Monday, just or even going back to Istanbul. Just the weekend was such an important thing. So that's something I was very religious about, that, to just going back to see my family, essentially.
Do you think any of your kids will end up working in your business? Would you want them to if they wanted to?
I don't think they are. Number one, maybe it's my daughter. She's more into the film, so film industry probably. And Julia, she's more like a scientist. I don't think she's gonna. I don't know. I kind of doubt it. And Alexander just want to be Olympic gymnast, so we don't have the gymnast in the company. It doesn't quite work. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. Having a family in business, I think pretty difficult. I believe it's just the I think it's more difficult for them, I think. So, yeah.
Maybe we should open up the question to some of the floor rather, for some questions from some of the other folks here. Does
There's
anybody?
There's some interesting people here. There's the Don. He's from New Zealand. Yeah,
I see Don over there.
There he is.
I recognized him.
It's I have seen Kit drink New Zealand beer well. It helped him to think. That's so true. And the Kiwis got the best beers in the whole world, by the way, and a wine, both.
So does anybody, Stacey, you had something?
Yeah, and I was just going to encourage people to feel free to drop things in the chat if you are in a place where you can unmute or talk. It looks like Sarah has a question, and I have a question after she goes. So we'll start with Sarah, and then
Hey, Sarah.
else.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Kit. This has been so fascinating. Thank you both very much for being here. Kit, I loved the story that you told about showing up on, on site to get the government contract, first person there, maybe the only person there.
Yeah.
If you were to roll back even further in your history and back to sort of the beginnings of the company, what advice would you have for early stage founders on how to identify the hungriest market niche? Let's say a structural engineer like yourself, what advice do you have to help orient all of the potential opportunities in front of them so that they know which one to go after?
I think that take all the opportunities, because you don't know which one. I don't think I don't remember even if I said no to anything shows up in front of me. Maybe there is, but probably like out of 100, say here's opportunities, I probably took 99.9 of them, because you don't know how it's going to turn out to. You don't know how it's going to turn. There's no way I can guess. So only way to really know it is try it. Just say yes. So if you ask them something, usually answers yes. That's it. Then
you see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And after a while, interesting part of it, opportunity become much more like selective coming through to you, because they realize what kind of things you're into it, Like, for example, we start doing quite a bit of M&A now, and now people come to us. So opportunity kind of come to you almost, But before that, no, we just kind of randomly say yes to everything, kind of try it out. That'd be my advice, I think, because you don't know, right? And in some cases, also opportunity have to shake the tree, I think. I think many people don't do that. You just have to, just like asking Mark to be the board of directors, just like you shake trees, to just get the opportunities. I think that's really critical.
Well, you did use Joanne to recruit me. Joanne was his business development representative, who was a very, very aggressive seller by any means.
Southern charm, right?
But
from
no,
Tennessee or somewhere.
I'm glad. Thanks for asking that question, Sarah. You mentioned M&A, though. Before we get back to the next question, you bought some companies at some very low prices.
Yeah.
Along the way, and that's always been something that I've been a fan of. I love the distressed small company. I think it's such a great opportunity.
Yeah.
You want to?
Yeah. I mean, we don't do it anymore because of just that the growth takes a little time. But used to, we have no money. Still have no much money. But used to we have like zero money, and you can buy a company for zero money, right? So basically, you find a company where nothing is free out there, but it's just to try to find a company where we can add the most values to it. In many cases, a very small company with like a head engineer or owner who never retired. Like, for example, the first time we came to LA was just that company called Martin Wong. And King Wong is a great engineer, and he had a great business, but he was, at the time when I met him, like 70 something, just shrink to very small company then, and then he don't know what to do with it. And so basically, we literally took over the company to keep the employee. That's what he wants to do, and also keep the clients. And we do the same thing in San Francisco, and also Orange County. So we specialize doing things like that for a little while. But now we want to grow 20% per year. To do that, we just have to get definitely much more bigger companies to get into it.
Stacy had a question. Thanks, Kit. Stacy?
Yeah, I have two questions, and they're very different questions. One is kind of along the line of Sarah's question, but I'm curious, with so much need in the world with your nonprofit, how do you decide which projects are worth pursuing in the field and which are not? Because you can't say yes to, I don't think, all of the need in the world, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first
Actually,
one, and I'll follow up.
yeah. Okay, so I'm going to answer the first question. So essentially, we pick things no one want to deal with it. For example, that we chose this building in Kathmandu right after the earthquake. It was a palace building. It's built like 100 years ago, 120 years ago. And it was one of the symbols of Kathmandu, but earthquake damaged really badly. And it was left there for 2 years, so that water intrusion, stuff like that, completely like deteriorated. And people thought it was impossible. But the US Embassy funded us, and we actually engaged the experts, we actually had to renovate a whole thing. And that's a Miyamoto Relief projects. And that became like a symbol of reconstruction. It can be done. You can definitely save this is such a bad shape building, so and it can be fixed, right, kind of stuff. So it was a great program. And so we pick things tend to do, no one want to do it. So it's kind of there. No one think.
I really love that. That's awesome. My next question is more on a conversation we had a while ago, but you talked to me about the importance of mentoring and how important that's been. And so I'm just curious, who were your mentors and how did you find them?
Well, I mean, my mentors are essentially like 5 people. Mark Zweig, Ed Friedrichs, he just passed, by the way, about a couple weeks ago. And also Peter Yadev, for sure. And also the John Schaefer, my mentor, for sure, for engineering part of us, And,
David Lee.
David Lee, yeah, he just passed too. So yeah, it's essentially they're like a very successful people in a realm of whatever they're doing there. And they were board of directors, but they're more like it's like a mentors, essentially business mentors. That's what they are. So yeah, we just. I think that's a key. I think key is really having mentors, and get the best of business. Because I think what mentors can do is that you become more efficient, because they made mistakes in the past, right? So you don't make the same mistakes. They will tell you, if you do this, probably gonna screw you up. That's your job, if you do or not do it, or if you do this, you'll be successful. That's it, that kind of thing that they would tell you, actually. And you kind of follow them.
We've got a couple other questions here that are coming through via the chat. One of these is from Shaheen. The thought of addressing the disaster risk reduction needs globally in countries with such differing infrastructure seems incredibly daunting. How do you adapt as a business to these diverse needs?
I think we always identify a local partner and who actually connected to it. I think that's a really, really critical. And many cases we succeed to choose the right partner, but some cases we don't, then it's not really good at all. So having actually the identification of the right partner, then you start to understand the country and the culture and politics much faster, And so your engineering solution or business solution, kind of you can adapt into this, that their own system to make it successful.
And then we've got another question that is somewhat aligned with this one. Which culture proved most difficult to immerse / adapt to / live in when working on international projects, and why?
Interesting question. I would say New Zealand, but just kidding. No, I don't know. I think every country I've been around, it's a humanity is very similar, by the way. I mean, for example, like we work for private sector too, for just engineering project, and talking to say developer in Kathmandu, to developer in Haiti, to developer in New York City, they're like it's very similar. It's very interesting how they think, what they like, what the family look like. It's very, very fascinating. It's just the human nature is so like same. And the culture is very distinct and language is completely different, right? But once kind of get into that little To me, like those things are skin. Once go underneath of it, it's so same. So people very similar in a way. So I think that kind of things that I understand, yeah, that's how we look things. But yeah, I think local partners is extremely critical to understand this whole scheme look like, you know, so you can get down to
You really have done that every time that I know of.
yeah. But to me, like my favorite country, believe it or not, is Haiti, you know, because
I know you love it.
I love the Haiti. I'm sure, I mean, that's the most difficult place to live probably, but it's the most difficult place, you know, I mean, but I think great about Haiti is Haitians go through incredible hardship every year, from natural disasters to civil unrest to just unbelievable things they go through, you know, but they are always like upbeat about it. Nothing like that in the whole world, you know, nothing like it. So to me, that's the truly favorite country to me, Haiti.
One last question here from Gary. With your school safety retrofit projects, do you feel like you're making an impact?
Well, I think that the making impact is like, I don't think I can change the whole world. I don't think we can, but I know we impact that particular school, you know? And Kathmandu, by the way, we're looking at a couple of schools of, I think the Japanese government may finance that. So that's what we're looking right now, by the way. And so we know we can save all that schools in Kathmandu per se, but we know we can save this one, you know? And once it starts doing things like that, also the other people follow too, you know?
Yes.
That kind of things actually that, you know, you can be a leader, you know, you can change everything, but you can change a little bit and hopefully other people follow. That's
sort
how
of
I think make impactful, I think.
Sort of like lighting a fire that hopefully continues to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it looks like we've run out of time, folks. Stacy, I'm going to turn the thing back over to you.
That's awesome.
Wrap it up.
Thanks, Mark, for being an interviewer, and Kit, thank you so much for being here today. This was awesome. We appreciate your expertise and your time and energy with this group of people. So thank you very much. And we'll stay on for just a couple minutes if anyone has any lingering questions they didn't get in. But
so if you have a question, I know you have a whole bunch of questions here. If I didn't answer it, you can email me at kit@miyamotointernational.com. Stacey, could you put my?
Yes, I will follow up with an email that has Kit's information if you want to contact him, and that way you guys can ask anything and stay in touch.
Yeah, so just email me. Just to feel free, you know.
Perfect.
Hey,
no problem.
I really appreciate you doing this tonight, buddy. I know you're busy. And I also want to say thanks for the students of mine that you have spoken with here this last semester. I know several of them have reached out to you. So I really appreciate that you make time for them too.
Oh, pleasure. Yeah, most definitely. I think that talking to students is one of the most fascinating things. I can see why you're a full-time professor nowadays.
It's the best job in the world. I love it. I really do.
Well, thank you guys. And thank you everyone for logging on from close by and all over the world. We really love having you here. And you can visit us and see everything that we have going on at the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at any point in time. So you're always welcome. Thank you guys so much.